All right, welcome to the February 9th, 2022 City of Mesa Planning and Zoning Board public hearing. We'll begin by taking a roll call for our board members. Board Member Boyle.
I'm here.
Board Member Allen. Absent. Board Member Crockett. Absent. Board Member Ayers.
Here.
Board Member Peterson.
Here.
Vice Chair Villanueva Salcedo.
Here.
And Chair Sarkisian here. As part of today's agenda, we'll have a consent agenda. However, before, we want to make sure everybody who wishes to speak has already handed in a blue comment card. Is there any other comment cards? There's two more coming. I'm presuming they're for the same case? The item's not on consent? Okay, great. I do have a comment card from Charlene for one of the items on the consent agenda. Can we bring her up just on the preliminary plat? Just bring her up to speak really quick. Charlene? Sorry, you're talking, yes?
I really don't know what to say. I'm here to find out what's going on and then perhaps one comment.
Okay. Who's the staff planner on that one? So that one is for the hospital update. Yeah. So the staff planner will get in touch with you, yes?
Does she want to speak on the item, or?
She said she doesn't know what.
Okay, okay.
So that is, Kelly can talk with you about that. All right. Then as part of today's agenda, we have a consent agenda. It'll be read into the record and acted on in one motion. The items will not be discussed individually. However, if anyone wishes to speak, please complete the comment card. We do have quite a bit, so bear with us as we shuffle through all of them today on certain cases. Per our hearing procedures, there was a cutoff time at 3 p.m. for online submittals. So we have gotten all of them up to, I believe we extended it a little bit past 3, but we have all those here as well. Correct. We are also pulling item 4A from the consent agenda, so that one will be heard as well.
And 5C.
And what?
5C, is that the companion?
And the companion case 5C, yes. All right, so.
Also 4H, right?
No, I'm going to read it with the recommendation to continue.
Okay. All right, so Vice Chair Villanueva Salcedo will be reading the consent agenda for today.
Items on today's consent agenda. Item 2A, January 26, 2022, study session and planning and zoning meeting notes. Item 3A, Z0121-01129, District 6, within the 9200 block of East Ray Road South Side, located east of Ellsworth Road on the south side of Ray Road. Site plan review. This request will allow for a restaurant with pickup window. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item 3B, Z0121-01302, District 4, within the 2300 block of East Baseline Road North Side, located east of Gilbert Road on the north side of Baseline Road. Site plan review. This request will allow for a restaurant. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item 4B, Z0121-00620, District 6, within the 7800 to 8100 blocks of East Pecos Road North Side and within the 6800 to 7000 blocks of South Sossaman Road East Side, located north of Pecos Road and east of Sossaman Road, rezoned from agricultural AG to general industrial with a planned area development overlay, GIPAD, and site plan review. This request will allow for an industrial development. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item 4C, Z0121-00644, District 6, within the 9300 to 9500 blocks of East Willis Road South Side, located north of Germain Road on the east side of Ellsworth Road, rezoned from light industrial, LI, to light industrial with a planned area development overlay, LIPAD, and site plan review. This request will allow for an industrial park. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item 4D, within the 800 block of East Baseline Road North Side and within the 800 block of East Javelina Avenue South Side, located west of Stapley Drive on the north side of Baseline Road. Site plan review. This request will allow for an industrial development. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item 4E, Z0121-00930, District 6, within the 4500 block of the South Haas Road West Side, located north of the 202 Santan Freeway on the west side of the Haas Road alignment, rezoned from agricultural AG to light industrial with a planned area development overlay, LIPAD, and site plan review. This request will allow for an industrial development. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item 4F, Z0121 01005, District 3, within the 1200 block of South Alma School Road West Side, located south of Southern Avenue on the west side of Alma School Road, site plan review. This request will allow for a restaurant with a drive-through. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item 4G, ZON21-01133, District 6, within the 4500 block of South Howes Road alignment west side and within the 8100 to 8400 blocks of East Warner Road south side, located south of Warner Road and west of the Hawes Road alignment. Rezoned from small lot residential 2.5 with a planned area development overlay, RSL 2.5 PAD, and general commercial with a planned area development overlay, GC PAD, to light industrial with a planned area development overlay, LIPAD, and site plan review. This request will accommodate an industrial development. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item 4H, ZON21-01238, within the 1000 block of South Stapley Drive West Side and within the 1100 block of East Emerald Avenue South Side, located north of Southern Avenue on the west side of Stapley Drive, site plan review. This request will allow for an office development. Recommendation is continuance to the February 23rd, 2022 meeting as discussed during today's study session. Item 5A, Hopewell Mesa, District 3, within the 800 block of East Baseline Road North Side, within the 800 block of East Javelina Avenue South Side, and within the 1900 block of South Horn East Side, located east of Horn on the north side of Baseline Road, preliminary plat. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item 5B, minor subdivision of Tract B of Leisure Manor, District 4, within the 500 block of North Mesa Drive East Side, within the 400 block of East 6th Street South Side, and the 400 to 600 blocks of East 4th Place, located north of University Drive on the east side of Mesa Drive, preliminary plat. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item 5D, Willis Industrial Park, District 6, within the 9300 and 9500 blocks of East Willis Road South Side, located north of Germain Road on the east side of Ellsworth Road, rezoned from light industrial, LI, to light industrial with a planned area development overlay, LIPAD, and site plan review. This request will allow for an industrial park. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions, and those are all of the items on today's consent agenda.
Chair, Vice Chair, we believe on 3B that you may not have read in the special use permit into that request. Could you repeat that item?
3B.
3B?
ZON21-013. Let me reread 3B. ZON21-01302, District 4, within the 2300 block of East Baseline Road North Side, located east of Gilbert Road on the north side of Baseline Road, site plan review and special use permit. This request will allow for a restaurant. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions.
Great. And do we have a motion, second?
I move to approve the consent agenda as read.
Do we have a second?
I second.
All right. All those please vote. Oh, sorry. Just give us a minute. Okay. All right. All please vote. Board members? Board member Ayers?
Aye.
Board member Boyle?
Aye.
It's not letting us vote. Board member Allen and board member Crockett are absent. Is it going now?
Yeah.
I vote aye. And Ayers and, okay, so pretty sure it's all good.
It's unanimous.
It passes. I know it passes with board member Allen and board member Crockett out. So, there we go. All right, thanks. All right, moving on to the next item on the agenda, which we're going back to item 4A, is ZON 21-00593 within the 8800 and 9000 blocks of East University Drive and within the 8900 block of East, I can't say, Decker Road, located west of the 202 Red Mountain Freeway on the north side of University Drive, rezoned from single residence 43, RS 43, to small lot residential 3 with a planned area development overlay, RSL 3.0 PAD. This request will allow for a small lot single residence development. And Kelly is going to do the staff presentation.
Thank you, Chair, board members. This is case ZON 21-00593 and for ZON 21-00594. The subject site is located west of the Red Mountain Freeway. It's north of University Drive and south of Decatur Road. To the north of the subject site is existing RS 43 single-family residence. To the east is the 202 freeway. To the south, across University, is manufactured homes in Maricopa County. And then to the west is RM2 PAD and RS6 PAD residential lots. The general plan character area is neighborhood with a suburban subtype, and per the general plan, the neighborhood character area is to provide safe places for people to live, where they can feel secure and enjoy their surrounding communities, and these neighborhoods contain a wide range of housing options and often have associated non-residential uses. And then suburban neighborhoods are primarily single residence with some secondary office and neighborhood commercial uses. Currently, the site is vacant and is made up of 2 different parcels of land, and here is a photo looking north towards the site from University Drive. The request before you tonight is to rezone the development from RS43 to RSL 3.0 with the planned area development overlay, as well as the review of a preliminary plat, and this will allow for a small lot, single residence development. The PAD request includes modifications to development standards, including a reduction to the front setback from 15 feet to 10 feet, the front setback for the garage from 20 feet to 18 feet, the rear setback from 20 feet to 10 feet, and then the allowance for attached open porches and open patios to be 5 feet away from the property line, as well as the minimum dimensions of residential enclosed garages from 20 by 22 to 20 by 20 feet. The justification for the PAD modifications include providing larger lot sizes, and so the minimum average lot size for an RSL zoning district is, the RSL 3.0 zoning district is 3,250 square feet, and the minimum lot size being proposed is 3,587 square feet. The applicant has also provided enhanced building elevations that include 15 different elevations, which exceeds the 5 that are required. And the proposed lots and overall development exceed the open space requirements, even with the proposed reductions that they are asking for. And lastly, the proposal includes enhanced site details that include stamped concrete, enhanced entryway features, and several different amenities that are throughout the development site. So here's the conceptual site and landscape plan that shows a 90-lot gated subdivision with private roads. The amenities proposed include pickleball courts, a pool, a workout room, and several benches throughout the site, which will encourage pedestrian activity throughout this development. And there's also a proposed 15-foot drainage tract between the most northern properties in this site and the larger RS43 lots to the north development site. And so the minimum distance away that they would be from those RS43 zone lots would be 20 feet. To the west of the RS43 lots is also a 56-foot open space area, which will also provide additional buffer to those RS43 lots. So here are the stylized site walls and stamped concrete that is being proposed at the entries. And then there are a few elevations, here are a few of the elevations that are being proposed. And so they have 5 different floor plans with 3 elevations for each, which totals 15 total different elevations. And the applicant fulfilled the citizen participation process that included mailing letters to property owners within 1,000 feet, registered neighborhoods within 1 mile, and HOAs within a half a mile. And they also held 2 neighborhood meetings. And staff also received a handful of calls and emails on the subject's request. And some of the major concerns were traffic in the area, drainage, density compatibility with the horse properties to the north. And I just wanted to mention that this request was reviewed by our transportation and our civil departments, and there were no issues brought up during those reviews. I do believe we have somebody here from transportation to discuss this project. And with that, staff finds that the request complies with the 2040 Mesa General Plan. It meets the criteria in chapters 22 and 69 for a PAD, and it meets the criteria in section 9-6-2 for a preliminary plat, and staff recommends approval with conditions.
Thank you, Kelly. Any board member questions or comments for staff at this time?
I do have a question, Madam Chair. Kelly, will you, so on the east side is the freeway, obviously, and then the west side is the similar size lots for the pocket of the, looks like, is it 3 or 4 larger lots in the north there? Three after this project?
So there, I believe, are 4 here and 3 lots here that are the RS43 zone lots.
Gotcha. And so explain that you mentioned the drainage channel. There's a buffer between these lots. What is the in addition? So there's drainage channel with landscaping on this plan. What's the wall configuration there on the? So there's maybe explain between, is it 1 wall or 2 walls, or what will be the ultimate condition there?
Chair Board Member Peterson, so from what I understand, the applicant is building a wall along their perimeter, and I believe that at least one of the property owners does have their own chain link fence here. And so from their property line to the wall along the new parcels here would be the 15-foot drainage easement. And then with the request in the PAD, they're requesting that 5-foot for open attached patios. And so at a minimum, it would be 20 feet away from that property.
Okay, so there's the property line and some have fences or walls, and then there's 15 feet clear, and then another wall that is the new wall that will be the backyard of the proposed homes. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff at this time?
No.
All right, can the applicant come up, please? All right, state your name and address for the record, and if you want to do a presentation, feel free.
Good evening, Chair. My name is Sean Lake, 1744 South Val Vista, here on behalf of the property owners and Arcadia Development, the home builder of this site. It's a pleasure to be here, pardon me, this evening to present this single-family detached residential subdivision. It's going to be a very nice subdivision, a gated community. What I'm going to do is walk through real briefly the site. And I know Cassidy kind of had it going in an east-west fashion. I'm a north-south person, so a lot of my exhibits will be in a north-south. So you may have to turn your head to think of it the same way. The site that we're here to talk about this evening or this afternoon is located on the northwest corner of the Ellsworth and 202 freeway off-ramp. If you can picture that location as the freeway came down through there in Ellsworth Road, there's a freeway off-ramp there. It's the site, the vacant property between the existing small lot RM2 residential homes directly to our west and the freeway. It's on the north side of University. There are existing 4 homes directly north of us, larger lot split type development that occurred many years ago, kind of before the freeway came through and kind of changed the whole dynamics of the area. We are purchasing one of those lots as an access to the north, and so those 4 become 3 as we move forward. The property is about 14.3 acres. It's designated or the surrounding zoning on the property, as you can see. To our west is RM2 at about 7.5 units to the acre, and then you have the Viewpoint RV park that's R4 directly west of that. South, you have mobile home and different county development that is zoned R5. To the east is the freeway, and then I think recently within the last 2 years, 2 projects that were approved at the RM3, I think density is what those ended up, but those are about 10 units to the acre in and around that area. And then on the north are those, what will be the 3 homes, and then I think there's 3 or 4 north of them that were part of a older development in that area. The general plan for the site is neighborhood. The proposal that we're proposing is consistent with the general plan. The zoning, we believe, is consistent with a lot of the zoning districts and densities that you see within this area as you look around the site. A lot of RM2, RM3, RM4, R4, R5. So we think the proposal for this residential density is consistent with the area as we transition to the freeway off-ramp. What we are proposing is a gated single-family subdivision of about 90 single-family home sites. The access will be designed off of University. That is the main ingress and egress into this site. As you go visit the site, or you go to work or you go to the grocery store, we envision most people will go in and out of this project out of University. That is the main point of access. That access point, we have worked with ADOT because of the proximity to the freeway off-ramp to make sure that that does work. We've also worked with the City Transportation Department to make sure that that access point does work. We've had several meetings with the City Transportation Departments and City Planning staff on that. So that gated community or gated access off of University would be the main point of access. But as most subdivisions that we're familiar with, where you're larger than say 30 to 40 lots, the city likes to see multiple points of ingress. And so we did acquire one of the lots on the north to have a secondary access up to Decatur. And so that would be a secondary point of access, but I think primarily most people will come and go from University in and to this site. Our density is around 6.2, which is less than what we are directly to the east, or directly to the west of us. As staff pointed out, there will be 15 different elevations for the site, so there'll be 5 different floor plans ranging from 1-story to 2-story different floor plans for the project. I noticed that parking was brought up downstairs. We do exceed all of the parking requirements on this site, and so even when you have trash pickup, so people will be able to, there will be enough parking spaces even when solid waste is coming through and picking up the trash with barrels. Again, there's centralized open space with landscape buffers and a lot of common area open space to meet the code and all of those requirements. Now let's talk briefly about our neighborhood participation. We have great neighbors, and they've been very friendly, very nice, very great to work with. We have appreciated working with them. As a direct result of meeting with the neighbors, we have made changes to this plan, not only reducing lots, but also changing the design. After meeting with the neighbors in the initial neighborhood meeting, there was a drainage issue that we needed to adjust. And so we met out on site a couple of times, once during a rainstorm, to see the drainage that was coming from this site. And so we have appreciated the neighbors providing us pictures and documentation of the drainage issues. We then took that information to our engineer then got with the city engineer, and they worked through a drainage plan so that drainage could be addressed and accommodated on this site. We don't want to back water up onto adjacent properties, nor do we want to have a problem on site. And so what the effectual result of that was that we shifted the whole subdivision 15 feet to the south. And so you can see on this, I don't know if, can you see my arrow? I don't know if it's showing up on your screen.
If you go slow, it does.
If I go slow? Up along the north side of the site, we have a 15-foot landscape open space drainage area. And what that open space and drainage area will receive, not only some channelized, but some sheet flow water as it comes into that drainage area. That water will then be collected there and conveyed to the west to an open space tract you can see on the plan. And then it will be taken and received into a pipe underground in that street, will flow to the south, to the southwest corner to its historical exit location. We've worked extensively with the city and will continue to work extensively with the city to make sure that those designs are sized properly to handle drainage. So that issue of drainage was brought up by the neighbors. We appreciate it. We have changed our plan to address that, and it pushed the subdivision further to the south. And so we feel that we have addressed that issue and shifting it. We have also incorporated, as a result of the neighborhood meeting, we had deeper lots along the west side. Even though our lots are bigger than the homes to the lots to the west, we made those lots deeper along the west side to address those concerns. And then the lots on the north, we already had that 15-foot shift, would have 10-foot rear yards on the north side as well. Let's see, just going through, we added a substantial amount of open space and amenities in the project. There is no short of amenities here with pickleball courts and pool recreational areas and workout areas. So there is quite a bit that will be centralized within this community that we think will really create a great environment for people to come and to live in this single-family development. Next slide. In addition to the reducing the density and addressing the drainage, we've also had several meetings with the city, both transportation and planning staff, as well as with ADOT to address traffic. Traffic was a concern, a great concern in multiple meetings and discussions that we've had with the neighbors. We didn't want to impact the neighbors and where people go, and so we believe in working with ADOT that we will be able to have a 3/4 access on University. And so with that, we would still believe most people will come and go into this development from University. However, should they not come and go into University, they could go out the secondary access point to the north, to Decatur, go west along the north side of that R16 subdivision, out to, and I'm forgetting the street. It was at 188th Street. My eyes are bad, so thank you, Board Member Peterson. Out to 88th and then back down to University. Obviously, that's a longer route, but it is a route that is available as a secondary route, but we think most people will come and go from University into this community. So we feel that we've addressed it. The city transportation department has looked, and there is capacity on all of those roads to handle this subdivision. So we think we've addressed that issue as well. Again, here's some examples of the open space and amenities that we're proposing, and I won't go into those because I think staff did a great job, and I'm seeing sleepy eyes up on the dais. So I will go through my elevations. Again, they're very, very nice homes, 15 different elevations. And these are not just your standard stucco tile roof homes, but these will have a lot of different elevations for such a small development. So we think it will be nice, both 1 and 2 stories. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. I think Mr. Peterson, or Board Member Peterson's question, on the north side, there's an existing fence on the property line, generally. Then there'll be that 15-foot drainage tract that will accommodate the drainage channel, as well as landscaping in that area. Then there will be our perimeter wall at the backs of the lots. Then there'll be a 10-foot setback to those homes. And so that's how that north side will look. And that tract and landscaping, that 15, will be owned and maintained by this development association. So.
Okay. Cool.
Is there, I'll be happy to answer any questions from there.
Any board member comments or questions?
Chair, just a quick question. So on that 15-foot strip, is there something to fence off the west side of that so that to keep people from wandering back in between the two walls or that type of thing?
We can certainly look. Right now, we don't have, other than you would know better how the water is collected from but I don't think there's a fence along that, on that. Let me go back to that part of the plan. So along, because we have, on the west side, we have an open space tract along there, and then the street that looks down that corridor.
I think do you have your fence plan? There's, on one of the plans in the packet, it looks, there's something there. I was just trying to confirm whether
if we can work with staff, if we need to put some type of fence or gate.
Even just a wrought iron or something.
That could be open, because we'll need to get back there to maintain it. We can certainly work on doing that. Jeez. Years ago, I could read that.
Kind of hold it back.
Does that say a fence? That's a wrought iron. Yep, wrought iron.
Okay, so there's something to keep people. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other?
One other question. By 3/4 access on University, so left turns, is that what's the?
We believe it'll be left in, right in, right out.
Okay, thank you.
Any other board member comments or questions? I can't see Ben or Tim, so. Okay. All right, thanks.
You're good.
All right, we are going to hear from some of the residents. We have some comments. And I just wanted to see if Gary Blair was on the line. He is opposed and wishes to speak.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you for your time. My name is Gary Blair. I represent the Ashley Heights Homeowners Association. The Ashley Heights Homeowners Association consists of 113 homes directly to the northwest of this proposal. It's all the homes that are east of 88th Street and north of Decatur. Up to the retention area, up to where those big lots are. Currently, the only access to our subdivision is by way of 88th Street headed north on University. So if you want to enter or exit our subdivision of 113 homes plus about 10 others, you have to turn north on 88th Street at University at that intersection. We oppose this subdivision for the reasons that of the traffic that's going to create at 88th Street and University. Currently, during rush hour, when you pull up to that intersection, you're on 88th Street, you want to turn left or right on University. Most people want to turn left because that's how you access the freeway, or they want to turn east to access the freeway. Now, currently, when you get there, there might be 3 or 4 cars during rush hour times waiting. We think if this goes through, a large number of cars from the subdivision will exit west on Decatur, go down to 88th Street, turn south on 88th Street, and go to that intersection of 88th and University. They'll do that because they need to turn left there in order to access the freeway. And that's why the majority of them will go down there. What that's going to do is cause a huge backup at the corner of 88th and University. All there is now is a simple stop sign. The roads weren't built for any sort of heavy traffic. There was just the standard roads. And we think that this is going to cause backups of, 10 cars waiting to turn left on University during a rush hour. Because if anyone that wants to access the freeway has to come down that way to do so. Let's see. And I think that's our main concern at this point, is that currently all of our own houses have to go down there to get out. A lot of people from this new subdivision will be going down there in order to turn east on University to the freeway, and it's going to cause a huge traffic jam at 88th Street and University. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Blair. Next, we have Mary Christensen, who is opposed and wishes to speak. Ms. Christensen, if you can please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Mary Christensen, Christensen. I live at 8925 East Decatur Road. I am the homeowner that is most directly impacted by the subdivision for two reasons. The first one is that there will be building on my immediate west side, the 8905 property, which has been purchased by RPI and going to be used by Arcadia Capital. The second reason I oppose it is because I will have construction on my south side, which will be the north boundary of the new subdivision. But for other reasons, I also oppose it, and one of them has to do with quality of life. When we had the first town hall in June, one of the questions I asked Mr. Lake was, how will this development benefit me? What I should have said, and the better phrasing would have been, how can or will this development possibly impact our lives as a neighborhood, since all we can see is negatives: decreased privacy, an additional very bright street light, more traffic, more noise from additional homes, and potential danger or harm to the horses that exist. Plus, with construction, there are going to be vehicles and methods and increased dust in the summertime. In the summer, our storms come from the east-southeast, southeast-south, or southwest. Since that's going to be directly south of me, that's going to be an awful lot of dust up in the air. I've already had one bout of very bad valley fever. I don't need another one. Yes, I understand that ADEQ faces this, but it's not necessarily something I want to get involved with, knowing how slow ADEQ is. It's quite ironic that this is going in, because on page 2, paragraph 3 of the staff report, it states, the primary focus of the neighborhood character area is to provide safe places for people to live where they can feel secure and enjoy their surrounding community. With the advent of this development going in, it's not necessarily going to be that safe or secure. And you are breaking up a neighborhood that was broken up when they put the 202 through. There were 147 houses that were originally connected over the Ellsworth Road, and you could get into it by going across Decatur Road. It's been split. There are only 7 houses left of the neighborhood on the west side, and buying my neighbor at 8905 is splitting up what's left of us. You are just basically advocating for a already existing community to be taken apart, and I don't see how that's safe or secure. My other opposition is that no one has made mention of the fact that this property project got started in 2020. It eventually ended up in a completely and totally different vendor taking it over and getting the ability to close on it. We were told at the very beginning that there would be only single-story buildings along our south fence line. I am grateful for this opportunity to be here today because I learned something I had no idea might be true before, and that is that they are considering single-story buildings. The other reason is that we had all gone together, I thought the four of us had all gone together. It turned out it was only three. Myself, Mrs. Kent, and Mr. and Mrs. Black at 8950. We had gone ahead and approached Realty Pursuits Investments and suggested that they should buy all four of the houses, not just one. Long story short, it didn't happen. So now there's three houses, and all three houses are joined in opposition.
Can you please wrap up your comments?
However, in November, I went to Mr. Lake, and I suggested to him, because of the problems that it presented me in particular, I would be willing to sell my property to him. He theoretically took it to his principal, and they turned it down as not having enough money. My question tonight is, if they don't have enough money to buy my property, what is going to happen if they get started building and get stuck for lack of materials? Are we going to be dealing with an empty lot behind us? Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you. All right. Next, we have Miss Gloria Kent. Can you please state your name and address for the record, please?
Okay, my name is Gloria Kent. I live at 8941 East Decatur, and I'm directly to the north of this development. Beside the traffic and all the other stuff that's going on, I have a great fear of fire at this place. I am from Colorado. I have a lot of news sites in Colorado I keep up with. On December the 30th, on the news came the fact that there was a fire south of Boulder. This fire ended up burning 1,084 homes. There was 2 deaths, and it did $513 million worth of damage. The reason they give that this fire went so fast, so hot, is the houses were built so close together. So, and this fire, it was a fast-burning, wind-driven grass fire. I get winds. This morning while I was working on this, we had lots of wind, and it would have taken us all out. So, I am very, and so I never really thought about fire before. And when I got this letter from Sean and gave the site, I looked at it and I thought, oh my gosh, fire. And there is no way to stop fire once it gets started in all of these homes. And they want to decrease the size of the lots so they can get more houses in there. We just don't need any more houses. This is a beautiful desert lot, and I can see sorrel cactuses, and they want to tear it down, put more houses in there where we really do not need houses. And then this morning there was an article about Hyundai and Kia cars have a callback, and they said, do not park your car in your garage because there's a chance they'll catch on fire. Okay, now what happens if one of these cars is parked in a garage and it catches on fire? There is no way to stop these fires. And the other development over there, I was told that the streets are so narrow that the fire department and the ambulance people have to walk in. If you look at this site map, there are turns. How is a big fire truck going to make one of those turns to get down the road to stop a fire? I just don't believe that this can happen. So again, And I would like to know, how are you going to put fire retardant between each one of these houses to stop fire? Or is it just going to start? Yes, we don't think we're going to have a fire, but there are fires all the time. So I am against this. They can build there, but let's at least keep it down to a normal amount of houses. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Are there any other comments or questions from that we haven't received any comment cards for? I don't think so. Can you get her a card if you want? What was your, if you can come to the podium and give us your name and address? Is that it?
My name is Cassandra Kobold, Kobold, and I live at 8914 East Decatur Road. I am exactly north of where the proposed second entrance is, coming off of Decatur out to the 88th Street. Our biggest concerns, mostly adding on with the fire, the ambulance, the emergency access, but my bigger concern is I have a young son, and that road that's going in that they're proposing is directly going into my property. So our biggest concern is if there is an accident or if a vehicle ends up running past, that happens sometimes, people don't pay attention, text messaging, they will be driving directly through our property. So that is one of our major concerns, is just the safety with my family that can affect. Along with that, there's talk about LED lights going in, and I absolutely agree with street lights, but what it looks like is there's going to be a light directly facing our front of our house. So not only will we be getting all of the headlights at night from the traffic, but also those LED lights straight in. My major concern, though, is that safety, is if somebody does run through that road, they're running right through my property. And with my 1-year-old son, it just does not make me feel safe living there. I think it's a very critical point as well about the emergency vehicles, because I have seen it on the properties to the west, that fire department vehicles have had to park on that 88th Street and walk into that housing development to be able to attend to whatever emergency there is. And with the size of the road that Decatur is now, I just don't see that being a viable solution. And if fire vehicles, emergency vehicles cannot make it into that neighborhood, I feel like that is a major issue that needs to be at least approached and spoken about. I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for your time.
Thank you so much. All right. Is there anyone else? Just one thing going forward, if we can keep I know you guys are really supportive of each other, but if you can keep the clapping and just keep it moving, because we have a lot, and it's going to be a couple hours tonight. So I just want to keep it moving forward. Are there anyone else in the audience on this case? Otherwise, we'll bring it back to the applicant.
I'm on my phone. Am I allowed to comment by phone?
Did we get a comment card for phone? I'm sorry, we don't have any comment cards we didn't have anything else. Sean?
Okay. Sean Lake, let me just address a couple of the issues. The first dealt with the first caller in the capacity of 88th Street. And yes, we have met with the City Transportation Department in the capacity of that road, and there is sufficient capacity to handle not only the subdivision to the north, and let me flip up to that. I guess you can see it from this one. There is a subdivision kind of up in this area right here that uses 88th Street to egress south to University. 88th Street does have capacity to handle not only that, but also the traffic that will be exiting north. I mean, I think most traffic will be exiting south directly to University because that's the quickest access point in and out as opposed to going to a longer route. But 88th Street does have sufficient capacity to handle that traffic. The other question dealt with emergency access, fire, and those type of things. Obviously, this entire project will be built to city code, and so we, just like every other residential development that's built within the city, that we think is very safe. And so just because you build homes doesn't mean that there's going to be increased fire. We build the codes, and we have codes for a reason. But we have designed the streets as well. So all fire trucks and emergency vehicles, solid waste, everybody, they're designed to meet city code, and our streets and the design of the subdivision is built, as well as Knox boxes at the gated entry, both on up on the north and on the south side. There was a reference to a 2020 developer. I think that might have been a previous run at this property and not Arcadia development. But when we started working with these property owners, we've tried to listen and incorporate their comments and make changes to the plan and design to address their concerns. Ms. Christensen did approach us a couple of months ago about selling her lot, but at that point we had already been in this process for some time and well into design. And at that point, it was too late to really. They did look at trying to incorporate it, but couldn't really feasibly make it work based upon cost-benefit analysis of what it would cost for the home and incorporate it into the site. It's not that they don't have money; it didn't make financial sense to incorporate it that late into the game. And so they have capital, they have funding, and so there won't be a problem with this project starting and stopping and not going forward. Again, let me just close. This is a first-class gated residential community. This is a place where my children can get a home, and other people's children, other people who are looking for a nice quality home, 1,500 to 2,200, 2,300 square foot single and two-story homes. I think we're really in need of that market profile with so many apartments and other type of developments. We need more single-family detached residential communities in the valley. We're behind building, and there's a lot of people that are, with all the jobs and industrial and employment that's being developed in this city, that we need to provide good quality, nice housing. And having this housing project in such close proximity to a freeway on-ramp and off-ramp, we think will be a very attractive and will be a very successful development, not only the day it's built, but 10, 20 years later. So with that, we would urge your support and request a recommendation of approval. Thank you.
Board members, do you have any comments or questions at this time? No. Nope. All right. Do we have the traffic engineer here?
We do. We have Ryan Hudson, if he wouldn't mind coming up to the podium.
So I was wondering if you could address some of the comments you heard as well regarding access and width and, turnarounds of the fire trucks, making, a couple of the residents mentioned people walking in for access issues, those kind of issues. And then also, not to give you a two-parter, but then the other comment from the HOA about the traffic signal at University and 88th. Like, are there opportunities to extend the turn signals or the lighting or reconfigure based on capacity and what's happening?
Sure. Chair and board, I'm Ryan Hudson. I'm the city traffic engineer here with the City of Mesa Transportation Department. And I can't really speak completely in line with the emergency services question you're talking about. I will say that our emergency services departments do, just like Mr. Lake was discussing, do review these plans, and they have certain standards that they have to meet for fire apparatus trucks to get through communities. So from an emergency vehicle standpoint, I don't really have much to offer on that. What I can say is I can speak to 88th Street and that intersection with University Drive. Currently, there is not a signal there. It's an unsignalized intersection. It's stop controlled for 88th Street when it intersects University. We had some requests that have come in over the course of the past couple of months from neighbors in that area. And we've gone out and done some traffic studies of existing conditions, primarily looking at the southbound movements at that intersection. Currently, as it sits today, a traffic signal is not warranted at that intersection, nor was it close to warranting. And the criteria that we look for a signal to be warranted, it's based upon a lot of factors, but primarily the amount of vehicles making the movements at the intersection and the amount of time that it takes for them to make those movements in a safe manner, which we refer to as delay. And then we also look at safety perspectives, crash history, crash analysis, if there's any sort of safety concerns. Those are the types of things that would warrant a traffic signal. So like I said, today, as it sits, it wasn't close to meeting any of those warrants. We will certainly, as a department, field any future traffic study requests that come our way, especially after the development is built, and we'll continue to perform those studies. I'm not sure if I answered all the questions you were hoping for, but if there's any remaining ones, please
So
feel
the
free.
traffic study was completed as part of the project?
It was not completed as part of the project. It was completed as a traffic transportation study request that we received through our department,
Okay,
just from the existing neighborhood.
gotcha. Board Member Peterson?
Ryan, on Decatur coming off of 88th Street, I was trying to look on Google Maps. It looks like there's a dead end sign there, right? That notices people that it's not a through street.
I would assume so. I personally don't know off the top of my head.
Okay. On the, as far as streetlights, will this project have streetlights on Decatur, or it's just streetlights internal to the?
So I know as part of the project, they would be required to build the half-street improvements on Decatur, basically finish out the road, which would include curb, gutter, sidewalk along that south side.
And are there streetlights for the section immediately to the west there?
Again, I'm not completely sure off the top of my head, but if they would have been required to, as part of our review process, to perform a photometric analysis to determine if streetlights were required along their frontage.
Okay. And then on, just following the, because human nature is to take the shortest path possible, and obviously the university entry will be predominant, but as far as the left turn out movement is limited. So if somebody were to were coming out southbound from the neighborhood and they wanted to get back to the freeway, if they turned right or westbound on University, what's the soonest they could make a U-turn to get back to the freeway? Is that like before 88th Street, that first street, or is that they could?
From a legal standpoint, it would be as soon as they could, get into the two-way left turn lane that's out there.
Okay.
But it would likely occur at the 88th Street intersection.
Okay, gotcha. All right, thanks.
Any other questions for the? Did you want to ask, Sean, did you want to come up and answer any of the questions? I heard you respond where he didn't know some answers and you had some answers to Mr. Peterson's questions.
Chair, Board Member Peterson, yes, there are street lights in Decatur for the development, the R16 development that went along Decatur. So there are street lights on the south side from kind of our development to the west. And so we would do improvements to Decatur along our frontage, which may include an additional street light to kind of finish off as required by the city code.
Okay, good. Thank you.
And what was the, I don't know, like the alignment, because Sandra had mentioned the alignment of coming out closer to her driveway or something like that, or hitting, I know it's a gated subdivision, so how does that work in terms of ensuring that, it's not just headlights, it's not straight into, they're not driving right into her house?
We can certainly look at that issue I'm trying to align it up and picture that. But we have it on kind of the furthest easternmost portion of that lot that we're purchasing, which is lining up to kind of, I would say, the eastern quarter of her home. But there's landscaping along Decatur. If that's an issue, we're certainly willing to work with that property owner to the north to install some landscaping or something along there, because we don't want to be a burden upon them by having cars and lights. And we can commit to doing that, giving them some money to install some more landscaping along there so that there isn't any lights that shine in their home further back. I think their driveway is along the western side of that lot. And so we'll work with them during that. Happy to do that.
Are there any other board member questions for Mr. Lake? Okay, thank you so much. I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the board for comments or questions, opinions. Board member Ayers or Boyle? Okay,
Not me.
go ahead.
I'm good.
we can't hold property owners culpable for things that occurred before they were property owners. So whether it's the freeway development or what lots were purchased, this is a nice development. It does offer a variety of elevations. It is no more dense than some other developments in that area, so I think it is within reason. Because there has been historical use on a lot, or just because a lot has been empty for a while, doesn't mean it has to stay that way in perpetuity. There's no legal obligation for that. So our charge this evening is to look at the site plan as presented. And is there a quality development, and does it meet comparable standards for that area, which this does? So I'm going to motion approval for 4A, ZON 21-00593, District 5, within the 8,800 and 9,000 blocks of East University Drive North Side and within the 8,900 block of East Decatur Road South Side, located west of the 202 Red Mountain Freeway on the north side of University Drive, rezoned from single residence 43 RS 43 to small lot residence 3.0 with a planned area development overlay RS 3.0 PAD. Request will allow for a small single lot residence development along with its companion case 5C ZON 21-00594 District 5 within the 8,800 and 9,000 blocks of East University Drive North Side and within the 8,900 block of East Decatur Road South Side, located west of the 202 Red Mountain Freeway on the north side of University Drive, rezoned from single residence 43 RS 43 to small lot single residence to 3.0 with the planned area development overlay PAD. Request for a small lot single residence development. Motion for approval.
All right, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Ayers. All right, please vote. Board Member Ayers.
Aye.
Board Member Boyle.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes.
And Chair, I just want to make sure it's clear that it's approval with conditions was the motion.
Motion was approval with conditions.
Thank you.
Passes 5 to 0 with 2 absent. Board Member Allen, Board Member Crockett absent. All right, moving on to our items that are not on consent agenda. Where are we at here? So we will be moving on to items 6A and 6B, which will be our last 2 items for today. We have quite a number of things to read, so if we have a number that say they are opposed but don't wish to speak, are opposed and wish to speak, so we have those. We have a couple that did not mark if they wish to speak or not, so we'll be calling on you for those. And then also keep in mind, you do have 3 minutes. I don't want to have to be the person up here yelling at you guys to cut it up. And then if you do wish to speak, but there's a bunch, you can combine, if you want to have one person speak for a couple of you guys, or if you want to have one person speak for a lot more, it's fine. Just let us know who if you want to give your time to, okay? And again, please, we need to keep it orderly and decor, yes. So no name calling and all that other fun stuff as we're going through it, right? All right, and Cassidy is here.
Thank you, Chair, members of the board. This is case ZON 21-00731, as well as ZON 21-00878. The request is for a minor general plan amendment from employment to the mixed-use activity district, as well as a modification of the Longbow planned area development overlay, a rezone from light industrial to limited commercial, a council use permit, and site plan review to allow for a mixed-use development. The site is located south of the 202 freeway, on the west side of Wrecker Road, and on the south side of Longbow Parkway, and north of McDowell Road. Here you can see an existing photo of the site. It is currently vacant. The current general plan designation for this property is employment. The intent behind the employment character area is to provide for minimal connection to surrounding areas, as well as a wide range of employment uses in high-quality settings. As a part of this request, it does include a minor general plan modification to the mixed-use activity district. The intent behind the mixed-use activity district is to provide for large-scale community and regional activity areas that attract customers from a large radius. These areas are intended to be strong and viable centers of commercial activity, and common uses within the mixed-use activity district often include office, entertainment, retail, restaurants, and residential where appropriate. The site is currently zoned light industrial with a planned area development overlay. That PAD was established with the Longbow Park in 2002 and was modified in 2008. The site is currently vacant. The proposed zoning includes a modification to the Longbow Park PAD development standards. Those modifications will apply to Lot 4 of that Longbow Park PAD only, as well as a rezone to limited commercial with that PAD and council use permit. Limited commercial is identified as a primary zoning district in the mixed use activity district. And the intent behind the limited commercial zoning is to provide areas for retail, entertainment, and service-oriented businesses. So both the retail and restaurants that are proposed with a commercial component of the site plan are permitted. And then the multiple residence requires a council use permit because they are modifying the standards for multiple residents in commercial districts. Here you can see the proposed site plan. It includes approximately 6-acre commercial component with 6 commercial buildings, and then a 13-acre multiple residence component for 359 multiple residence units, ranging in height from 2 to 3 stories. As a part of the PAD request, the applicant is proposing modifications to the development standards. Those modifications include an increase in the maximum building height, a reduction of the building separation standards, a modification to the outdoor living requirements, and then a reduction in the required parking ratio. As support for that justification, the applicant has provided enhanced entryways for this proposed development, as well as enhanced connections between the proposed commercial and multiple residents, a shared access pass and pedestrian connection between the commercial and multiple residents, a multi-use path along the west side of the property along the Longbow Golf Course, and then high-quality amenities within the multiple residence component. So, multiple residence is permitted in the LC zoning district, subject to the criteria outlined in section 113131 of the zoning ordinance, which requires a minimum 60% of the gross floor area of all buildings to be utilized for commercial uses, and then a minimum 65% of the ground floor of each building to be used for commercial uses. The applicant is proposing a modification to these standards to 33% commercial gross floor area on site. And because of that modification, that does require approval of a council use permit. The applicant did attend the design review board on October 12th. The design review board recommended minor changes to the proposed elevations, and staff is working with the applicant to implement those changes. The applicant did conduct a citizen participation process, which included letters to property owners within 1,000 feet, as well as HOAs and registered neighborhoods within 1 mile. The applicant held 2 neighborhood meetings, one in September of 2021 and another in November of 2021. In addition to those neighborhood meetings, the applicant has received additional communication and held additional secondary meetings with surrounding neighborhoods, both in opposition and support of the proposed development. Staff has received several emails in opposition and support of the proposed development. In addition, staff has been in communication with several of the neighborhoods, or several of the neighbors for the existing single residence subdivision to the east of Recker Road, who were in opposition of the proposed project. Those concerns that were outlined by the neighbors include the proposed density of the multiple residence component, increased traffic on Recker Road, the concerns with the reduced parking ratio proposed with the multiple residents, and then compatibility with the surrounding area. In response to these concerns, the city hired a third-party facilitator to meet with both the neighbors and the applicants to provide an unbiased assessment. That facilitator's report was included in the agenda packet and is available to the public. In summary, we find that the proposed development complies with the intent of the 2040 Mesa General Plan, meets the criteria for a planned area development overlay, and is consistent with the existing Longbow planned area development overlay, as well as the criteria for a council use permit and site plan review, and staff is recommending adoption of the proposed minor general plan amendment and approval with conditions of the proposed rezone.
Okay, thank you so much. Any questions for Cassie at this time? You do?
Yep.
Okay, Board Member Peterson?
Thanks, Chair. Cassidy, on the council use permit, the 60% versus 33%, what's the denominator for that? Is it just this project area, or is it the overall Longbow master plan?
It would just be the subject area highlighted in blue.
Okay, gotcha. And within the Longbow master plan, there's not, and I go to this area quite a bit, but I don't recall there's any other multifamily within the Longbow master plan, right?
That is correct.
Okay. And then after the third party did their review of the project and of the neighbor input, the staff recommendation remains recommendation for approval with conditions. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other board member comments or questions for Cassidy?
Cassidy, could you just back it up to the slide where it shows the 60%? I was trying to take notes and wasn't fast enough. Thank you. That's all I needed.
Okay.
Any other board member questions right now? No? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, will the applicant please come up and state your name and address for the record and do your presentation?
Madam Chair, I'm going to find where this folder is, and if I don't, I'm going to ask for the IT people to help. But I think it should be. Oh, Cassidy, could you help me get that? I'm not sure where they placed it. My flash drive was given to the IT people, and they should have left it right here.
Okay, is that it?
No, that's not it. They told me it was in this white folder right here, but. That looks like it right there. Yeah, that's all right. You stick it in there. Thank you for your help.
No worries. It's not one of these up
No.
Okay.
You gonna click on that one right there? No, hold on.
Yeah.
That's not it.
Right here?
No, that's you.
Nope, that's. Stick that one there. Both of these are in our office.
It's one of these. If it came in late.
No, so this would have been.
Did somebody? There was one that was in here already. There was one. But it was left up here. I moved it down.
IT or?
Poor thing.
Madam Chair, I gave all this IT to our good people before. There he goes. And let's see if this is it. Here, I can drive. Scroll down. That's it. Yeah.
Go down that, yeah, no, right there.
This one? I'll let you do it.
Oh, there you go.
Apparently, I'm very inept at this.
It's the ID10T error. I'm just kidding, just kidding.
Okay. Okay. That should start it.
Try to resume slides, show them, or close it and open it up again.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Now when my time's right.
Okay. This should just start it. And it does not.
No, you don't need any of those.
No, from the beginning. It's, well, yeah, let's see if it's gonna work. Yep. You just can't.
What we've got.
All right, thank you, thank you.
Madam
Phil.
Chair, members of the board, thank you for your patience.
We've waited how many months? We want to make sure you can do it.
Yes, no, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time, so I'm.
You've already used your 3 minutes.
It is. I appreciate the quip. Madam Chair, members of the board, Reese Anderson, 1744 South Val Vista, here tonight on behalf of DHI Communities, which is a D.R. Horton company. And as you well know from their reputation, they're a high-quality builder and developer here in the Valley as well as across the nation. With me tonight is Mike Truman, Roger Pryor, and Tanya Axamentova, all from DHI Communities. All of us are able to answer any questions. The staff have done a great job giving you an overview of this project. And so I don't want to spend any more time really delving into and explaining more about something or rehashing something. But let me just give you, if you could, and of course, it doesn't want to work when I'm hopeful you can see on the screens. Yeah, very good. That is not what I'm seeing on mine. So hopefully on the screen, I just wanted to show you an outline of the Longbow PAD, but we're going to deal with what we got. Madam Chair, what you see on your screen there is a snip taken from the 2008 zoning case with the Longbow PAD. What's important to note on this slide is what I'm highlighted in yellow, is that for parcel 4, which is what we're dealing with today, the allowed heights are 40 feet. And part of parcel 4 actually has allowed heights up to 90 feet. Okay? And so let me show you that map. If it would show on the screen, can you see on the screen a map now of the Longbow PAD? Do you see what's up there? Yep. My friend, figure this out for us.
Okay, you want the map?
Do you want a few more minutes, or should we take a little break? Give you another minute and see if we can take a break. Okay.
Thank you.
Gotta close Cassidy.
Magic. Thank you.
Okay.
This is the slide we left on, which was just this showing the allowed heights. It's important to note the allowed heights on this parcel are 40 feet today. This is the map of Longbow, again, taken from that 2008 zoning case. You can see Lot 4, I've outlined it in blue. The northwest portion has allowed heights up to 90 feet. This will become important in just a second. Notice that to the north of us, I didn't black them out, but this is how the map appears as Lot 3, and below us is Lot 5. If you look close at the fine print there, you can see that commercial is allowed in those areas. So as Longbow has developed over the years, again, starting in 2002, here we are 20 years later, it really has developed as more of a mixed use. And you can see these things with the Sprouts, the Fat Cats, the hotel happening. Amazon is now up and running on the far west side. And you see storage, other industrial, Sun State, others are developing along McDowell Road. But along Wrecker, it's really developing more as a mixed-use type of development, and it makes sense to consider this type of a proposal there. Here's some other examples. Again, if you've driven out there and seen it, there's a picture of the hotel, CVS is down on the corner, and of course, Amazon. So today, we've outlined the proposal in light blue there, but just to the west of us is 12 West Brewery. Some of you are familiar with their site downtown. They're moving part of their main brewing operations out there. To the north of us, of course, is the Fat Cats and Sprouts Center. Longbow still has vacant land to the west of there for development. And then you can see, of course, Sunshine Acres. I think most of us are aware of and hold a sense of pride for what Sunshine Acres does. There's Amazon, the golf course. And then along the south there are now both approved and in the process, those industrial and warehouse projects that are happening on McDowell Road. These are just a few letters of support that we have. Again, from Sunshine Acres, Concord East Ridge, which is the hotel, Fat Cats, and in Kitchell, which was the developer of the Sprouts Center. Those are in your packets, so I won't dwell long on them. This property is within the Longbow is within the Falcon Fields sub-area. That's an important economic generator for the city of Mesa. Based on what our calculations, there's over 13,000 jobs just happening within this very small area. And interesting, based on the Maricopa County statistics, 11% of all the aerospace jobs in Maricopa County are right here in this Falcon Fields sub-area. All of you are familiar with these major employers, but from Boeing, MD Helicopters, Amazon, Namotali, Special Devices, Inc., Alice Motors, and here is interesting, other 339 other employers in the area. So there's a need for housing for employees in the area, as well as others. This is taken from the Maricopa Association of Governments Employer Database. The size of the blue dot represents the intensity of employees and jobs within an area. Of course, you can see the airport, and then you can see just north of there, and then to the west, but within this Falcon Fields sub-area, there's a lot of employment happening. So during our outreach with neighborhoods, we had 2 neighborhood meetings. We've had multiple emails, phone calls, et cetera. But these are the key issues that we heard while we were working through the neighborhood outreach part of this case. Opposition to multifamily, opposition to 3-story buildings, overflow parking into the nearby residential area, which is really meaning that parking would occur on the east side of Wrecker within the Ridgeview neighborhood, increased traffic and road safety issues, noise and light glare concerns, and then a general concern that the city doesn't value neighbor opinions and does not enforce its ordinances. As Cassidy mentioned, the city hired a facilitator to come and really drill down into what the key issues and concerns were. And I was glad to see his report and that they were the same issues that we had discovered. And again, you have that there. Apartment buildings too high. You can see into the backyards, which was a privacy issue. Apartments will negatively affect property values, lighting and noise. Development will introduce undesirable people. Additional traffic will create unsafe conditions, parking into the Ridgeview. And again, it doesn't feel that the city listens to their concerns. So let me just go through and quickly address some of these, because I think that the good folks behind us have legitimate concerns and legitimate opinions. And we just kindly disagree with the conclusions that are drawn at the end of the day. So I'd like to just share how we look at and analyze these issues. First, building heights. Again, what's allowed out there today? 40 feet by right, 90 on one portion of the site. What are the building heights out there that are built today? Amazon's 39, The Hotel is 53, Fat Cats is 48, and the Sprouts is 27 with some of the architectural elements up to 35. So on parcel 4 for the residential, 40 feet's again allowed. What's there in the Longbow? We're asking for 38 feet. So we're well within the established heights for this site. When we talk about privacy or people peering into yards, that code is really not, or that issue is really not in the code itself. I think really that gets interpreted as setbacks. What is our building separation? Remind us all that we have Record Road that's between us. So I just did a quick chart to say, okay, if I'm light industrial, and what's my setback if I'm next to a 4-lane arterial? It's 15 feet. What's my setback if I had no street between us and I was right next to you? We shared a common boundary line. It would be 1 foot for each building height, so 38 feet. Well, if I'm limited commercial, which is what this request is, what's the building height allowed? 30, but again, through the PAD, we're asking for more, given that the use here is more liking to what's allowed, as well as what we typically see in an RM district. But you would have, the code sets forth the rule that says 25 feet per story, so that's 75 feet. Look down to that red line. If in this case here, from my building to the property lines on the other side of Recker, I'm 150 feet away. So I'm twice what the code requires me to be on my side of the street, and when you put it all together, I'm 150 feet away. So we believe we've answered the question about setbacks and privacy in the positive, where we're actually going twice what would normally be required. This is just a reference to the city's noise ordinance section. Concerns were raised about us having raucous parties, excessive noise, et cetera. And we tried to help explain and educate that we have even a greater interest to make sure that future residents and business owners within this project are not bothered by noise. And so our management will be carefully looking at it, and if there's any problem we can't handle, absolutely call the police. Do we expect that we will not ever have a problem? I don't know. But what we do know is that we have an absolute desire to make sure that this project does not bother anyone. Questions were about noise or light pollution. And so we tried to help explain and educate how the city's light ordinance works. Simply put, when you're at the property line along Record Road, you would measure the ambient light level with the light meter reader, and you could only increase that by half a candle foot. That's not very much light, okay? So a candle foot is the light one candle puts out at 1 foot. It's just not a great increase. So we just don't, so while you could see, if someone could see the structures, yes, but will light be bleeding over? The answer is no. And I think each of you know that as part of every development project, you provide a photometric plan giving specific details on how you're complying with that ordinance. So when we talk about traffic impacts, the answer or the analysis always is, does any project increase traffic? The answer is always yes. It doesn't matter if you're one house, you increase traffic. The real question is whether or not you're increasing it beyond the capacity of the adjacent roads. So these simple rules here are the rules of thumb that traffic engineers use when they're trying to measure out how the impact of a use will have. And again, single-family homes are about 10 trips per day. Apartments, condos are 7. Offices are at 10. Retail is 38 trips per day per 1,000 square feet. And industrial is 5 trips per day. So how does this relate to us in this case here? Well, we've got about 38,000 square feet of commercial. That equates to about a little over 1,400 trips per day. Our multifamily is 359 units, 2,500. So rounding there, that's 4,000 trips per day, additional beyond the roads. Now, the question is, can the roads handle that? Answer is yes. So this is the traffic count map, and I just showed you what the 2020, zooming in, you can see Record Roads at 13,200 trips per day. So is that good or bad? That's the question. Well, the capacity of Record Road per the City of Mesa traffic engineers is 36,800. So us adding some traffic to the road is not going to even get close to the capacity of Record Road. And that assumes that all this traffic goes on Record Road. I anticipate some, we don't know how much, but some will use Longbow to get over to Higley Road. Okay. This was another interesting one that we heard during our neighborhood meetings, which was that Residents were upset that the islands there on the 2018 map on the left side, there were some islands in the street that prevented traffic from Longbow going east into the Ridgeview neighborhood. And as part of that Sprouts development, those were removed. And so in 2019, you can see how the intersection, and it looks the same today. So the concern raised by the concerned citizens was that there would be a significant increase of traffic through Ridgeview neighborhood, not only by the Sprouts, but by us. City of Mesa Traffic Department went out and did studies. Interestingly, they had data back to June of 2012, which you see in the chart there. Again, this is the chart provided by the City of Mesa Transportation Department. Well, they did a study in February of 2017, right before Sprouts opened in January. Then they did a study in February of 18, February of 20, October of 21, and December of 21. And the reason the October study was repeated was because concerns were raised that it was done during fall break and the traffic counts weren't accurate. So the City of Mesa went back out and did it again in December. The weighted average change over all those studies is to say that traffic has increased on Preston by 15 cars a day over that extended time. To me, that's not a significant change. So another concern raised was that our residents would end up parking over on the Ridgeview neighborhood. I just don't see that. I can see that that is an absolutely valid concern. I just see that it's so unlikely that it would ever happen. Who in their right mind would drive all the way across Record to walk back across? To help alleviate that, the commercial portion of this project has agreed that if there is any overflow, which we doubt that it's necessary, but if there is, cars can park right there, which is where they would normally would. This question got raised a lot. Do apartments hurt property values? And I've tried to provide this list to anyone who will listen, but there's 6 studies there, and I'm happy to provide it to you. All of them conclude that high-quality multifamily projects raise property values. The 7th one was provided to us by a resident during the second neighborhood meeting, and that conclusion was that if there's an over-concentration within one small area, it could hurt property values. So we looked and said, how many apartments are within a 2-mile radius of the site? And we found 4. Now, these are true apartments. We didn't count mobile homes. We didn't count individually owned condominium projects. We counted true apartment projects based on what we could find. So we don't think there's an over-concentration of apartments in the area. I won't bore you with neighborhood outreach, but we've had multiple neighborhood meetings, in-person conversations, emails, et cetera. We've done our best, and we've made ourselves available wherever possible. We've also done a lot to respond, including holding a second neighborhood meeting. We continue to communicate with folks about neighborhood meetings, public meetings, et cetera. We've agreed to several continuances of the case while the facilitator made his analysis. We revised our building elevations to better address both the design review board and citizen feedback. We've switched our color palettes around again, and the common open space has been increased dramatically. Only 150 square feet is required, but we're providing 343 by our calculations. I won't bore you with the rest. You've been very generous with your time. Madam Chair, again, I'm here, members of DHI are here. We're happy to answer any questions, but we're here tonight before you with full support from the planning staff, full support from the Falcon Field Airport and the Economic Development Department, as well as all other departments of the city reviewed the case. We're in agreement with the conditions of approval and urge your support.
Okay, thank you. Are there any board member questions or comments for the applicant at this time? Board Member Peterson?
Reese, on the site plan shows 1 access drive to Longbow Parkway and then 1 primary access drive and 2 secondary onto Record Road, so 3 total on Record, so a total of 4 access points. How many of those are being built with the first phase of the, or how's the project phase? Maybe explain that so we know.
Madam Chair, Board Member Peterson, thank you for that question. It's not being phased. Everything's being built at one time. And so all those driveways will be built in the initial one single phase.
Okay, gotcha.
So you will have buildings sequenced through there, but it's all being built at the same time.
So if somebody wanted to get out onto Wrecker Road, they could go up through the commercial and make a left on to get to the freeway from.
Absolutely, Board Member Peters. So to me, if someone wanted to get to the freeway, the easiest way to do that is just to drive right up that North Drive, hit Longbow Parkway, get in the left turn lane, and you're right there at the freeway. About 1,000 feet by our calculations.
Okay, thanks.
Yep, my pleasure.
Any other comments or questions for the applicant from the board? No? All right. We'll bring it back. We'll do the public hearing portion. Do you want to we can just get through these fast, maybe?
Yes.
So I will start with reading. We have a couple comments that we received via email that they wish to just read the comment, but they do not wish to speak. So we'll get those through here. You have Matthew Shannon at 6230 East Court Street is opposed. My opposition is not in the development of the land, but in regards to development that does not fit the community. A 3-story high-density apartment complex does not fit. Q and Lake's response of essentially, well, at least it's not 90 feet tall is not acceptable. Fat Cast that is in the same development and set further back from Wrecker is an eyesore that I can see easily from my yard, approximately 2,200 feet east of Fat Cats. The design of this apartment complex is soulless, drab, copy-paste, and simple elements. This neighborhood deserves better than a tall, obnoxious copy-paste complex. Next one is Stephen Amon, 2720 North Augustine, is opposed, and the proposed zoning change is to the Ridgeview area have no business being approved. The city council should apply some forethought to the situation rather than the obvious slanted, ill-informed afterthought that was given to a similar traffic and invasion of the neighborhood situation involving the Power Food Truck Park. The proposed rezoning changes would inflict many more times the harm to the Ridgeview area than the Power Food Park ever caused to its surrounding area. I am calling on the city council to do the right thing for once and unanimously strike down these rezoning proposals. Kevin Watts at 6040 East Portia Circle says, my wife and I are not able to attend the meeting today and wanted to share that we are adamantly opposed to a zoning change for the parcel at Longbow. We do not want multi-residential apartments built. We live in Ridgeview directly across Wrecker Road from the proposed development. We are in the 500-foot range. Raymond Hinton at 3062 North Olympic is opposed. Danielle Ermief at 6326 East Portia Street is opposed but does not wish her comment read. That's the same one. Let's go back to this one. Right here. The second. Didn't want them read. Linda, isn't that the Ermief? That's the one I just said. Ermief. Oh, then Danielle. Linda Ermief at 6326 East Portia is opposed and also does not want her comment read. And then I have one on here, Amelia Carlton at 3062 North Olympic, who is opposed and wishes to speak. Are they here or on the phone?
She clicked both, so maybe you want to read it.
Yeah. Is Amelia on the phone at all? Her comment is, what are the benefits of this proposal to the residents in the area other than the economy and D.R. Horton? How will this affect our home values overall, regardless of inflation in the housing market? Have you assessed the current crime rate in our neighborhoods versus effects of the new community? There is already a sufficient amount of daily traffic on Wrecker Road. The proposal will create at least tenfold current traffic situation. Okay, so those are them. Now,
We have a number of comments opposed but did not wish to speak, so I'm just going to read name and address into the record. First is T. Traxler, 6035 East Palm Street, opposed, did not wish to speak. Tim Traxler, 6035 East Palm Street, opposed, did not wish to speak. Dennis Shaler, 6263 East Oasis Street, Mesa, opposed project with high density and a flight path of Falcon Field. If such project is rezoned, other developers will follow with even more congestion, keep light industrial zoning. Jim Sudd, my apologies if that's a mispronunciation, 3056 North Olympic, opposed, did not wish to speak. Jason Gower, 6246 East Quartz Street, opposed, did not wish to speak. Elroy Fossum, 6036 East Palm Street, opposed, did not wish to speak. No rezoning of these parcels. Tamar Wolf, 6246 East Presidio Street, opposed, did not wish to speak. Descala, 6047 East Palm Street, opposed to apartments and no to rezoning, keep rezoning light industrial, opposed, did not wish to speak. John DeSila, 6047 East Palm Street, opposed, does not wish to speak. I'm not in favor of apartments. Melanie Gasek, 6424 East Preston Street, opposed, did not wish to speak, strongly opposed rezoning at Recker and Longbow. Rick and Ellen Fife, 6455 East Presidio Avenue, opposed, did not wish to speak. I and my wife are opposed to the building of apartments at Recker and Preston. Daniel Stevenson, 6436 East Presidio Street, opposed, did not wish to speak. We're opposed to the Ascend at Longbow Apartments. I'm opposed to rezoning, keep zoning light industrial. John Lombardi, 6133 East Quince Street, opposed, did not wish to speak, opposed to the rezoning. Gilda Lombardi, 6133 East Quince Street, opposed, did not wish to speak. I oppose rezoning. Elizabeth Stevenson, 6436 East Presidio Street, opposed, did not wish to speak. We are opposed to the Ascend at Longbow Apartments. I'm opposed to rezoning. Keep zoning light industrial. Val Sneezy, 3014 North Olympic, opposed, did not wish to speak. No zoning change, no apartments. Lori Sneezy, 3014 North Olympic, opposed, did not wish to speak. No apartments, no zoning change. Sandy Vitale, 3116 North Olympic, opposed, did not wish to speak. Joanne Sykes, 3148 North Olympic, opposed, did not wish to speak. Melinda Bush, 6512 East Ryan Street, opposed, did not wish to speak. I request the zoning remain light industrial. Thomas Bush, 6512 East Orion Street, opposed, did not wish to speak. I request the zoning remain light industrial. Marilyn Redelach, 5945 East Viewmont Circle, opposed, did not wish to speak. Michael Gasek, 6424 East Preston Street, opposed, did not wish to speak. Keep this light industrial as intended. Clint and Kim Macron, 3028 North Saffron, opposed, did not wish to speak. I'm opposed to apartment construction and rezoning and support keeping the area reserved for light industrial. Daryl Gibbon, 6043 East Quince Street, opposed, did not wish to speak. William Redelach, 5945 East Viewmont Circle, opposed, did not wish to speak. Prefer to keep zoning light industrial. Rachel Honeyfield, opposed at 8044 East Sienna Street, opposed, did not wish to speak. No on apartment building, traffic noise, no to rezoning. Deborah Johnson, 6261 East Omega Street, opposed, did not wish to speak. I'm completely against rezoning the parcel at Recker and McDowell. We should keep it light industrial. Todd Hoffman, 3034 North Olympic, opposed, did not wish to speak. Opposed rezoning, opposed 3-story apartments. Will Batista, 3052 North Platina Circle, opposed, did not wish to speak. John Griffin, opposed at 6119 East Presidio Street, opposed, did not wish to speak. Kimberly Griffin, 6119 East Presidio, opposed, did not wish to speak. Elliot Sneezy, 6023 East Palm Street, opposed, did not wish to speak. No zoning change, no apartments. Stacy Hunziker, 6026 East Preston, opposed, did not wish to speak. I'm a longtime Ridgeview, a Discovery resident, 27 years. I bought with the notion that light industrial only. Linda Zanoni, 6063 East Quince, opposed, did not wish to speak. I'm opposed to any change to rezoning from light industrial. I purchased based upon it being light industrial. Chris Sorensen, opposed, did not wish to speak. 8560 East Oak Street. Robert Rutledge, 3014 North Cashmere, opposed. My concerns are the increased Recker Road traffic, whereas the intersection of Preston and Recker had already recently experienced increased load and strain, the potential for crime and disregard of the community, for example, the more established subdivision and the Desert Trails Bike Park that comes with the more transient population, and the adverse impact to the safety of Falcon Field of multi-story buildings. The general plan in existence considered this plat light industrial after review of the overall community and should not be changed to the extreme of multi-story apartment complex. Scott Kenwright, 6045 East Portia Circle, opposed, did not wish to speak. No rezoning, keep light industrial zoning. Jerry Samuelchek, 6207 East Preston Street, opposed, did not wish to speak. Think, what will this do to our property values? This is so unfair. I'm begging, please stop this zoning change. Don't ruin a great area. The next few indicate opposed, but it doesn't say whether you wish to speak or not. I will certainly call your name and address into the record. If you did choose to use 3 minutes, just please stop me before I get much further, okay? Tricia Corey, 3026 North Olympic, opposed to this item, do not want apartments.
You want to speak? No.
Nisa Brown, 3026 North Olympic, opposed, don't want apartments. Barbara Chalet, 3153 North Park Ridge. Opposed. I oppose the building of these apartments in my neighborhood, which I've lived in for over 30 years. I moved here for the peace and quiet, no congestion, and I don't want to have to move because I love my neighborhood the way it is. Jennifer Kosecki, opposed to this item. 3213 North Pineal, my apologies. Sandy Vital, 3116 North Olympic, opposed to this item. Heather and Jeff Cohn, 6063 East Palm Street, opposed to this item. We wish to maintain the current light industrial zoning. We oppose the congestion, traffic, noise, block views, etc. What apartments would undoubtedly bring. Richard Rowe, 6108 East Portia Street, opposed to this item. Who's going to subsidize the children that move into the proposed apartments? The city, no, the taxpayers. Helena York, 6530 East Oasis, Mesa. Opposed, do not rezone for apartments. This is craziness to add all these apartments to such a busy road already. Absolutely not. Douglas York, 6530 East Oasis, opposed to this item. This is a terrible place for apartments. This road cannot handle so much more traffic. We have a big housing development going on at Thomas and Recker already. Elaine Nichols, 6110 East Palm Street, opposed to this item. Sam Nichols, 6110 East Palm Street, opposed to this item. Christy Larson, 3040 North Olympic, opposed to this item. Johnny Smith, 6166 East Palm Street, opposed to this item. Decrease in property values and traffic congestion. Leah Klinghale, 3047 North Kashmir, opposed to this item, leave as light industrial zoning. Peter Klingbeil, 3047 North Kashmir, opposed to this item, leave as light industrial. No name on this one, but whoever is at 3020 North Olympic, opposed to this item, no apartments, no zoning change.
Did you wish to speak?
Yeah, Lynn Whitaker, can I make a comment here?
We'll go ahead and save your card to the side. Was that your card, 3020 North Olympic? Okay. Judy Batista, 3052 North Platinum Circle, opposed to this item.
You wish to speak?
I'll speak. You wish to speak? Gloria Kenwright, 6045 East Portia Circle, opposed to this item.
All right. Put that one back. All right, so the remaining cards we have are wishing to speak. So first I have is Sherry DeBisso. DeLuisio? DeLuisio.
I have nothing to add at this time, thank you.
Terry Davis.
Yes.
Did you wish to speak? Have you here first, wishing to speak? Okay. Please state your name and address for the record, and try to keep it to 3 minutes, please.
Who's 3 minutes?
It's the one, it'll come up on the thing.
Just kidding.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Terry Davis. I live at 6233 East Presidio. I worked for the same company for over 30 years. And I started there in my mid-20s. And after I worked there for a little while, I thought, boy, I'm rich now. I'm making a lot of money. And about 6 months later, I went out and I bought a brand new Volkswagen off the showroom floor. And I drove that car for the whole 30 plus years that I worked at that company because I took care of it. A few years later, I bought my first house and I took care of it. Now those two things, those two purchases are probably the most expensive things I'm ever gonna buy in my lifetime. And that's important to me to take care of them. It just makes sense to me. Before I bought that house, I lived in an apartment. It wasn't the same. I was still responsible, I still took care of it, although not everybody does that, but I did. But it's not the same. Owning my house gives me social capital in the neighborhood. It brings about trust and cooperation with your neighbors over a period of time. And an apartment complex, those people aren't gonna have that. They aren't gonna really care what happens to my house because they're transient. They're gonna live there and then they're gonna leave. So does it affect the property value? I've read studies also. Some of them say, no, it doesn't affect it that much. Some of them say, yes, it can have an effect on them. And when I bought my second house, it was where I live now, and that was 26 years ago in the Ridgeview subdivision. And when I moved there, I knew Falcon Field Airport was there. I knew it was there. So I don't complain now when planes go over. I don't call anybody and say it's noisy. I moved there and I knew it was there. When I moved there, I knew the 202 was going in. I knew that ahead of time. I don't sit outside in my backyard now when I hear cars go by at night, and I can hear them at night, not during the day with the everyday noise, I can't hear them, but at night I can. I don't call anybody and complain. I bought that house knowing that was gonna go in there. So don't change the rules on me now. I mean, I'm a capitalist. I know this gentleman is gonna make money putting those in. I understand that and I appreciate it, but don't do it at my expense. Don't do it at these people's expense. Stick with what you have in place now, because that's what we know is in there. Don't change it on me now. Let's keep the quality of this neighborhood where it is. Let's keep that social capital up where it belongs. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have some speakers that wish to go in a particular order. So we have, where is it? Anthony Kelly is first, wishes to speak and is opposed to this item. You have 3 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, hi, my name is Anthony Kelly. I live at 6118 East Palm Street in Mesa. My wife and I have been there. I want to thank the board, the chair, planning and zoning for this time to speak. I do appreciate it. Little background here. My wife and I are 28-year original homeowners in Ridgeview, as of course many of the people here are. We raised our children, paid off our home, and retired here because we feel that Ridgeview is the best possible place to live. We have always loved the Red Mountain area, and it has been a great home ownership success story spanning over 30 years. Now, unfortunately, this proposal is threatening to change that very successful dynamic. We feel it will not be for the better. For the last 4 months, our group has been gathering signatures against the Ascend at Longbow Apartments. We now have over 200 signatures from Ridgeview homeowners and a few from surrounding community as well. We asked everyone here to wear red, of course, so you know who we are. You won't, think we aren't here. I have personally spoken with most of the petition signers, many of them at great length. I can assuredly say we all share a common goal in opposing the apartments. With the above in mind, we are saying no to Ascend at Longbow Apartments. The current original zoning should remain as it is and as it always has been, light industrial. The proposal currently being considered does not meet the requirements of light industrial zoning. The proposal does not meet with the 2040 general plan. We ask you please to stick with the plan. And finally, the proposal does not have the support of residents. I do submit this petition to you, and thank you.
Thank you. Can you, Cassidy, can you make sure, do you have a copy of that petition or the list? Thank you.
Thank you.
That's yours.
All right, thank you so much. Are there any questions for? No. All right, next we have Randy Rostron.
Good evening. My name's Randy Rostron. I live at 3140 North Olympic. I back up to Wrecker. I purchased my home there in 2004. understanding and acknowledging during that process of purchasing a home, Falcon Field is where it is, and I'm sitting on underneath the flight path. Love it. One of the reasons I'm there. At the same time, Record was a dead end right behind my house. But I understood at some point in time, the 202 was going to come through and Record was going to go through. We understood all that. We also understood that there was going to be a half diamond. Well, that didn't happen. We got a full diamond intersection there with the interstate. Lived with it, moved on from that. But I also knew and understood when we signed that part of that paperwork, acknowledging what was around us and what was underneath or going over top of us, there was the commercial light industrial across the street. Understood, signed it. It was part of our acknowledgement of purchasing a home there with Pulte or any subsequent purchase that you have there since then. Now, as a homeowner now, I have a vested interest, has it been stated and will be stated many times this evening. Apartments, on the other hand, short lease periods, turnover, no investment. Really don't care. They're looking for their next spot. Light industrial, they're build to suit, provide spec spaces for a future tenant business. The tenants, yes, they're leasing just like an apartment, but they're vested because it's a business. They want to make it. They're going to stay there long term. They might be the 3, 5, 10-year leases. They'll also look out for the curb appeal because if there is not a curb appeal, someone's not going to come to their door, in other words, their business. One of the other things, let me check my time. One of the other things that was brought to our attention at the meeting we had with Reese and his group at the golf course, I asked the question, is it all or none? And he says it's all or none. That meant the commercial, what's being, or the north half as a residential. It's an all or none scenario. Don't want the rezoning. It's not good for the neighborhood, doesn't fit the neighborhood. We don't want it there. And lastly, went in length on the standards we talked about that are part of this rezoning. It's amazing. They want the rezoning, but then they want more. They want to raise the height of this. They want to reduce the amount of area. They want to reduce the parking from 2.1 to 1.8 with this rezoning. They just want to increase the density with no forethought of us. Again, simply no rezoning. Keep it as it is. Thank you.
All right, next we have Amanda Hart, wishes to speak.
Hello and good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board and other city officials, presenters, as well as my fellow concerned citizens. Thank you for your time so much and for giving us this opportunity to speak. Much appreciated. My name is Amanda Hart. I live at 3056 North Olympic in Ridgeview, and it's directly across the street from the parcel we're discussing today. And this has been our home for 19 years. We love Northeast Mesa. We want to keep the current zoning for the parcel as is, light industrial. We all moved here knowing that the parcel directly to our west was zoned as light industrial. We moved here knowing Falcon Field, MD Helicopters, and Boeing, as well as some of the other businesses that were spoken about earlier, were just a block away from us. Some of us even moved here because of that. We recognized it would mean good, clean jobs in our area. It would mean being able to live in beautiful Northeast Mesa without needing to take the freeway and sit in traffic to travel for work. The options for light industrial are actually very diverse. City services, doctor and medical offices, business parks for technology and research and development, colleges and trade schools. The list is extensive. I could sit here for 15 minutes and read the list off for you. And all of those would actually be welcome additions to our community. We know how much better your work-life balance is when you commute 5 to 10 minutes as opposed to 45 minutes in traffic. Ridgeview and their surrounding neighborhoods are actually at the perfect location to live, work, and play. We have beautiful homes full of decades-long residents as well as newcomers. We have a recreational bike park, golfing, movies and entertainment, shops, restaurants, and even a new brewery, as was mentioned. This parcel is the final piece of the puzzle for our neighborhoods to have jobs that are like cycling and walking distance from our homes. The committee that worked on the 2040 Mesa General Plan knew what the residents of our neighborhoods know today, and that the parcel is best kept zoned as light industrial. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you so much. Next, we have Judy Batista. And state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Judy Batista. I live at 3052 North Platina Circle in Mesa. I'm here to oppose the zone, to rezone it, keep it as it is, light commercial, just like everybody has said back here. I'm with everybody here. I'm on their side. We've owned our house there since about 2002. One of the things that really bothers me is the congestion that's already there on Wrecker and Preston, trying to get across over there by Sprouts or turning to the right or turning to the left. It's really congested, and it's a small road. They need, if they're gonna go through with this, they need to improve Longbow, they need to make it longer, wider, and Wrecker. And I can't see how the traffic is gonna be even better. It's gonna get worse. Some of those people could come straight across on Preston to get through in Ridgeview to like Bash's or even Power Road. That would be a shortcut for them. And that would really, really drive up the traffic on Preston. Preston's kind of congested already. A lot of people maybe have more than one vehicle and they park on the street, which is fine because they're in their guidelines. But sometimes when you're coming out, when I'm coming out of my place and making a left-hand turn onto Preston, there's cars already on the right. It's kind of hard to see, to get around, and it's gonna get worse. So I'm really opposing all these apartments here. I think it's just gonna be a big traffic mess, and it's a quiet, nice neighborhood. I think that's gonna change. It's gonna change the quality of our life. So I just wanted to speak my piece, and hopefully everybody will back me up. But thank you so much for letting me speak. Have a good night.
Thank you. And next, we have Len Whitaker. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Okay, thank you. My name's Len Whitaker. I live at 3020 North Olympic. When I stand in my backyard or look out through my living room windows, I see the piece of property that we're talking about tonight. And I have a couple of comments, be pretty quicker. I challenged the developer's representative here. He's talking about a 3-story apartment complex, 150 feet, I believe, away from my house. I believe an adult male or someone looking out the 3rd story of that complex can see into my backyard. Not an immediate problem for me. I'm an old guy. I'm not anything to look at, but unless you're, you've got some real problems. But my neighbors have swimming pools. They have daughters. They have, attractive wives. And I have a problem with that. We live in Ridgeview, which is a walled community. It's not gated, but our backyards are walled, and they're privacy walls. I can't see into my neighbor's backyard. He can't see into mine. I don't want the guy living across the street looking into my backyard. I mean, that's just not why I moved there. If that apartment complex would have been there when I was looking for a house, I wouldn't have bought it. I bought my house 5 years ago. I'm very happy. It's very nice, love the area. And I also question the developer's comments that apartments don't devalue neighborhoods. We have our neighborhood right now, if you look at, if there's any realtors on the board here or not, our houses are, $450,000, $500,000. And they want to put an apartment complex across the street. I don't see that having a positive effect at all on our neighborhood. I just don't see how it can. A positive development on our neighborhood would be light industrial. Create something, build some stuff over there, it gives jobs. Jobs are important. Apartments are not. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. All right, I don't have any other comment cards. Is there anyone else that I'm missing? If you can, sir.
I said no before, but can I speak?
What was your name?
Todd Hoffman.
Can you please come up and state your name and address for the record?
Sorry, I didn't expect to speak.
Is that the, I do not wish to speak.
Todd Hoffman, 3034 North Olympic. One thing that comes to mind, I've lived here in this neighborhood, and my mom actually purchased the home that I purchased from her, but I've been here since the beginning of the creation of the neighborhood, and I've seen what's happened in the little corner of our northeast mesa. And you talk about changing the zoning in this particular area and to add some restaurants potentially and some other types of things like that, and then also the apartments. You can also drive in a 2-mile radius from this location and find nothing but vacant and available spaces to add restaurants, to add those types of places. So the rezoning doesn't really do much. And then I believe in Mesa and I care about Mesa and I love Northeast Mesa, and I think that we really have to look overall collectively as a group of what's gonna happen long term. We look right now, we have a big shortage on single family homes. We have 269 blah blah residents moving to Arizona a day type of situation. And what's gonna happen when we catch up on the inventory, we're able to build more single family homes. What's gonna happen to all these types of complexes that really aren't user friendly anymore, where they're just one-sided, there's just an apartment building, some restaurants and spaces over here. So that's what I would like you to consider today and think about, and not change the rezoning of this particular area. Be more concerned about the long-term growth and future of Mesa with creating businesses and bringing people here, not temporary housing. Thank you.
All right. Those are all the comment cards that we have. So I will bring it back to the applicant for a response.
There are other people online that would like to comment.
I can wait, Madam Chair.
You can see people raising their hand online.
Yeah. Chair, they would have had to submit a comment card an hour before the public hearing if they aren't present, for us to be able to sort through those.
Yeah.
I did submit a comment card. It wasn't read.
It would have had to have been by 3 o'clock this afternoon.
And it was.
What was the name?
Christoph Salaki.
We don't have it.
I submitted at 3 o'clock, so.
Chair, it's up to you if you'd like to entertain.
Yeah,
here.
provide this doesn't get out of hand with more people online. But can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Christoph Salaki, 7752 East Billings Street.
Okay.
So we are very sad to see the steady increase in traffic in Mesa. We've been seeing this going on in Mesa and Gilbert. Influx of condos being built and around this area. Traffic keeps getting worse. This brings noise at all hours of the day. People racing up and down our streets. It's getting ridiculous. You can't even open your windows without hearing cars drag racing down the street. You know, apartments are going to bring that type of thing. You think about water, electricity in a condensed area such as this. I'd like to ask the developer how he plans to control barking dogs. Barking dogs are a problem in my current neighborhood, and how are you going to control barking dogs in a condensed populated area such as this?
Okay. Do you have any other comments or questions, or just is that it?
I'm against all this apartment complexes. Light industrial is what it should stay. It was that way from the beginning. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Madam
All right.
Chair, may I comment 20 seconds? I promise. I'll be really
Did you already hand in a comment card?
Stacy
Hausiger?
Thank you, Madam Chair and board members. Stacy Hunziker, 6026 East Preston Street. I just kind of want to bring everything back to, many of us are longtime residents when this community was developed, and we all bought under the impression Falcon Field is there, and like Amanda said, many of us moved there because of that. We like the old plains with the museum over there on Greenfield and McKellips. We also bought and signed the paper, like Mr. Roston said, that the freeway was going to come in, and we were all okay with that. Then we were told by Mr. McNichols with the project across the street in Longbow that that would be all commercial, light industrial, and that's the way we want to keep that. That's going to bring jobs, and that serves the surrounding area as well. So that goes along with that plan, the city's plan of 2040, and not to rezone and just keep it light industrial. Thanks. I think I went over 20.
Thank you. All right. We don't have any more comment cards, so at this time, I'm going to close. I'm sorry, we keep adding and adding and adding. That is the point of why we have a format to add, and we have a policy for 3 o'clock for submitting, and then when you come in here to submit the cards to us, we've asked several times. So I'm going to stop that. We've heard plenty. We understand where your comments are going. Can we get the applicant's response, please?
Madam Chair, members of the board, the good news is I don't have to get the PowerPoint up and running again. And with someone with red hair, I initially thought everybody was here to support me, but I quickly learned otherwise. With the utmost of respect with our friends from the Ridgeview neighborhood, I acknowledge change is hard. And I also acknowledge that they've got a wonderful slice of Mesa that they live in right there. And so on behalf of DHI Communities, I want to just express our sincere intent that we have no ill intent. We have no desire to harm and no desire. We only want to help raise the area. And so as you look at this overall and the patterns that have developed, and there's already mixed use activity in the general plan immediately across Longbow to the north. And so this is a natural extension of that mixed use activity designation to the south, tying into the corner at Recker and McDowell. The uses here are a mix of commercial, 38,000 plus square feet, and multifamily. It fits in well with an overall mixed use activity designation. To clarify, the gentleman mentioned about this all or nothing comment. I took the question at the time of the neighborhood meeting to mean this. If you don't build the multifamily, will you also build the retail and the commercial? And the answer was, no, this project is one in the whole. So it's all going to be done at the same time. So I thought when he was here at the podium, he may have tried to perhaps say that we were going to build multifamily over the entire project. Just if that misperception was mine only, at least I've cleared it up. But if it was anyone else's, hopefully I've cleared that up also. I could start with the dogs, other than to say dogs aren't allowed outside except when you go to the dog park, and that's in the very southwest corner of the site. And so I don't think that dogs are a fair concern. There is a lot of comments that we've heard tonight about no apartments. I would just remind us now of the value of rents going on in this area, especially for a project of this quality. These will be $1,800, $2,000, even higher than that, as much as a mortgage. So we're not going to get, as the proverbial air quote goes, those people. All of us in our lives have, at one point or another, most of us have lived in an apartment, and we've been grateful that we've had that opportunity. Here, there's a need for it. There's a lot of employment in the area. The existing development standards that we're sticking to are there and already established on the site today. I know this isn't going to go over well with my friends behind me, but we actually see this as an improvement. And the reason for that is simple.
Can you guys please, we need to have him finish, please.
The reason that we see it as an actual positive is that if you had an industrial project there, imagine that Amazon relocated over there with its close to 1,000 parking spaces and the number of cars and traffic and trucks spewing diesel exhaust fumes, that's more traffic, more fumes, more congestion than this site would bring. Commercial sites, if this entire site was developed as commercial, that would generate even more traffic on Recker and in the area. The reason that you see this balance of both commercial and multifamily here that's supported by the airport and by economic development and planning is because it achieves that right balance for a good mixed use. We talk about views. Unless you have a legal right to prohibit a view or block a view, that is not a real issue, especially given the existing development parameters and standards allowing 40 feet of height on this property. So other things that are being done are decel lanes at the appropriate locations to move traffic off of Recker Road and into those turn lanes that come into the property. I'll note that in your file, there is a letter from Mesa Public Schools saying they have no concern about student capacity at the schools. I'll note, again, the Falcon Field, the reason that we met with them, they have no opposition. This is an airport overflight area 3, which allows these uses. In addition, you'll see in your conditions of approval, there's additional requirements about notices, which we fully agree to. Madam Chair, members of the board, what else can I say other than one last thing, and then no one has a greater incentive here to make sure this project looks great and stays great than DHI Communities. They're committed to owning and operating this. They're committed to the long term, and they have as much of incentive to everyone to make sure that this looks great and remains great for all the obvious reasons, including the bottom line. So, Madam Chair, what else can I answer? What did I not answer that you may want answered? I note that Ryan Hudson's here from Mesa Transportation to answer questions.
Board, did you have comments or questions for Reese at this time?
No.
Is there, Board Member Boyle, Board Member Ayers, any questions right now?
Oh, right now, no.
For Reese, no.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, we want to hear from Transportation?
Unless there's a question.
Is there any questions? Nope, okay. I have a question. No, I'm sorry, the public hearing is closed on this, so.
He gets to respond to us.
That's not, I'm sorry, that's not how a public hearing works. So I'll bring it back to the board for discussion. Board Member Boyle or Board Member Peterson?
I'm happy to start.
Okay.
Let me get my video on. I feel on these things that, you know, one of the things they say in city planning is cities grow out and then they grow up. And Mesa's starting to hit its limits, is growing out, and it's starting to grow up in a lot of different places. A lot by me. I'm in West Mesa, where apartments have been coming in for the last 20 to 30 years. And so we've been dealing with the changes in the city that go about with that. They're not all bad changes. You get new neighbors, you meet new people, there's new life, there's younger people moving in. Recently, so I lived in New York for many years, lived in an apartment like most people in New York do. Parking was always a disaster and everything like that. But on the flip side, you get really good pizza in New York City. There's some benefits that come along with density. It's hard to decide where it should go. It's hard to decide how to do it. And so I totally feel with the residents. They bought their houses. They expected a certain thing. Something new happened. And that's one of the challenges with living in cities is so many new things happen and you don't have control over them. And, you know, I think all the time, oh, I wish I could have stopped that. I wish I should have bought that land. I should have done something. I should have done this. And now it's not the way I want it to be. I have those thoughts all the time. So I feel definite empathy with the residents living in that area. The LI designation, man, that could be just as bad, you know, if it was a hospital there or kennels or car sales or impound lots or building material lots. Those are some of the things that could happen there. I don't know that they all would, but keeping it LI, I think, has got its own set of dangers. And anytime something happens, you want to know about it. The other thing, there's this bill that's going through certain states right now that almost eliminates all single-family zoning. I know that they were entertaining talking about that in the state Senate yesterday, and suddenly my neighborhood got really scared because something way more dense and something, I think they allow up to 75 feet of height and stuff like that. Like there's also some notion of we need to get some stuff built now, because if something like that were to pass, and it does have a lot of support, then something worse could happen. And so suddenly I was chatting with my neighbors, like, oh, we got to find these lots. We got to get some smaller multifamily, just some 3-story stuff built now, so we don't get some of these this larger thing that could happen down the pipe. So there's some things like that that have been concerning me, as well as that. And then I think one of the things that the planning staff needs to be mindful of in West Mesa, where I live, I feel like too many lots went to become multifamily, and then I think is when you start to see the degradation. I think over there, where the location is and the way more and more people now are living in apartments, I don't think you're going to see the same unless huge tracts of it go to multifamily. And I think the HOAs and stuff in that neighborhood keep a lot of that from being able to happen. Out here in West Mesa, we don't have those. And so it's sort of a different fight that we're doing out in this area. And then finally, the thing that I've been working on is I've been trying to figure out what needs to happen next in Mesa with the general plan and everything is I need a place for my kids to live. My kids are becoming, I've got a 20-year-old, I've got an 18-year-old, and I look at the map and I'm like, are they gonna have to live in Surprise? Are they gonna have to live in, Florence? Like, where can they afford a place to stay? Where can they live in the future? And there's some elements of that where as I look at it, I think, Mesa's kind of been its own thing for dozens of years. It's the single family haven, but if we want the new dream that I want is to be able to have my kids living nearby. I don't want to go to Queen Creek to see my kids or see my grandkids. So those are some of the elements that are kind of going in my thinking as I try to decide, what's the right thing to happen here. I think I have a more favorable view towards apartments than some of the other things that could happen there. And so that's the direction I'm feeling right now.
Okay. Board Member Peterson?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. So as the Planning and Zoning Advisory Board, our purview is narrow regarding good planning and zoning, and a lot of social behavior or other issues are what they are, and outside of those things that we can really assess as we look at cases. So in reviewing this case I've been impressed that for the 5 months that this case has been continued, it's unprecedented in my recollection for a case for the city to keep the dialogue open and going, and even to have an independent facilitator involved in the process to come in and kind of be a sounding board, an objective sounding board. And as an advisory board member, I put a lot of credence in the technical capabilities of the city planning staff and associated departments. And so to have gone through that period and to have had the independent facilitator, and for the staff position to be recommendation for approval, it is weighs strongly in my consideration of this case. Also, some of the access, having it all built in one phase is important. And the traffic numbers, frankly, I was surprised, and the traffic numbers don't lie. They were taken using standard procedures, and a lot of planning principles would actually say that having this level and this value and the rent level was discussed of diverse housing opportunities here helps us to create a more sustainable community. And so those are things that are going through my head.
Vice Chair?
I'll echo some of the concerns that Tim expressed. We need housing, we need a variety of housing types. And we have seen multiple cases come before us where we've had similar opposition from neighbors, similar concerns. And not all people that live in apartments are bad, so I will say that. I've often felt my hands were tied because the zoning allowed for it. That's not the case with this. And so to rezone and for a general plan amendment, that needs to be taken seriously in my mind. And not just a move from light industrial, but this mixed commercial, and yet the request to reduce ground floor commercial from 65% to 33%. So it seems like the request before us is to allow for some residential or mixed activity, and yet it skews very heavy toward residential. You know, light industrial to small lot, single family home, light industrial to mixed activity with heavy commercial, light industrial to mixed activity with heavy residential and high density residential, and the preponderance of neighborhood opposition gives me pause. Changes to zoning and changes to general plan aren't gimmies. They have to be proven developments. There have to be some sort of high quality, some justification for it. Given all of the changes that are being requested, again, that skew much more heavily in my mind commercial, to me that doesn't justify the change. Now, that being said, something will go there. Traffic will increase, development will happen. I just don't feel that this development for this parcel is appropriate.
Board Member Ayers?
Sorry, I was speaking and still on mute. No, I think I've heard a lot of this tonight as well, and I feel I'm more in support of it at this point. My son recently moved to this area. I live near this area. I agree with some of the sentiments that we've heard from the other board members as well, to see that, you know, I agree that we need more variety of housing. My son had to move into an in-law suite because there were not apartments available in that area. His fiance works at Boeing. He's still in school, and it's a great example of what Tim was talking about earlier. So at this point, I feel more inclined to be in support of this at this time. So thank you.
Okay. My comments are, I understand what's going on. You know, it was weird because I moved out here. The 202 wasn't there, just like a lot of you. I mean, it didn't go through. You didn't expect Record to be this massive impact. You know, it wasn't. I mean, despite the fact that, you know, it was planned for a 202, it's really hard to visualize the impact of what is essentially a regional center becoming there. It really is. I mean, and then you don't, and then honestly, as fun as it is, Fat Cats isn't the best example because they've got their neon stuff, which you can see for miles. So that's kind of a poor example of what, you know, it's a fun site, but it doesn't really reflect on what should be adjacent to the neighbors. I do land planning in my profession, and this is an example of what is appropriate against the golf course. I mean, it's against the golf course, so it'll follow the line. It's not your standard, as Tim was mentioning, apartment complex. It's a good transition. You're still going to get industrial in there. You're getting industrial on the other side. It's got this, on top of it, it's not next to the residential. It's got the setback from, I mean, Record Road in almost every jurisdiction, major roads like that are seen as buffers between community properties. So you have freeways, that's considered a giant buffer. You have railroad, you know, all these things, these are giant buffers. There's also the landscaping going in, there's the trees. I don't agree with, you know, I use that area a lot, I'm in that area. I don't agree that residents or anybody actually would go to the east through the subdivision. I know you guys don't agree with it. So, hey, because I mean, I live over there and I would never ever take that. More often than not, if I don't want to go on Rucker, I hit Longbow to the west and I go up Higley. So I'm just saying, I know you guys aren't going to agree with me on my opinion on this. This also will go to council and you can voice your opinions there. But following what you go to planning school, planning accreditations, credits, we have annual classes we do, everything. This follows good planning procedures. And it may not be what you like, for my opinion, but that is how I see it, is it makes sense given the distance. I like how it actually wraps and has it's not your standard box subdivision. So anyways, we've all had our comments. We'll make a motion. Somebody make a motion, please. Yes.
I'll move to approve ZON 21-00878 within the 2800 to 3100 blocks of North Record Road and within the 5900 block of East Longbow Parkway, located north of McDowell on the west side of Record. Minor general plan amendment from employment to mixed-use activity district. This request will allow for mixed-use development. Recommendation is adoption. And along with ZO1,
Do we have to separate it? Yeah, separate it. Do I have a second?
Wait, so two separate motions? Okay.
I'll second
the motion.
Board Member Ayers seconds. All right, vote on the general plan amendment, please. Board Member Boyle?
I vote yes.
Board Member Ayers?
Aye.
All right, with Board Member Allen and Board Member Crockett absent, passes 4-1. All right, next.
Move to approve ZON 21-00731 within the 2800 to 3100 blocks of North Record Road and within the 5900 block of East Longbow Parkway, located north of McDowell Road on the west side of Record Road. Modification of the planned area development overlay (PAD) rezone from light industrial (LI) to limited commercial (LC). Council use permit (CUP) and site plan review. This request will allow for a mixed-use development. Recommendation for approval with conditions.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Board Member Boyle seconds. Please vote. Board Member Ayers?
Aye.
Board Member Boyle?
I vote yes.
All right, with Board Member Allen and Board Member Crockett absent, passes 4-1 with Vice Chair Villanueva Saseda is no. That is the agenda for today. With that, are there any other comments from, any questions from that? We'll see Helen after the meeting.
I'm Marilyn Metallic, and on my card, I asked for 3 minutes to speak or give my time to someone. Could I please speak to the council?
Sorry, you can speak to the council. We have all the cards here, and I read every one of them, so we can, it's the board public meeting on that. Is there anything else from staff? Anything else?
We don't have a ma'am, the public hearing portion of this is closed.
Motion to adjourn?
Second, is there a second? No.
Second.
Board Member Peterson seconds, all in favor. This will go to later on. When is council date?
March 7th.
March 7th is the city council date.